Two major milestones happened for Michigan yesterday as they punched their ticket to the national championship for the first time in over 2 decades. Number one, you defeated Nick Saban and Alabama in a college football playoff semifinal. That rarely occurs. And number two, you slayed the dragon of internal doubt that you've had the last 2 seasons. And finally, can say you're going back to the big dance. Let's talk about it. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus anything going on with coaching searches, the transfer portal, national championship news, Michigan versus Washington down in Houston for a shot at hoisting up the national title for the final time in a 4-team playoff era, we got you covered. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Michigan's epic 27-20 overtime win against Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, Michigan fans, and college football aficionados everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football daily. Make sure you follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way conversations of our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. Michigan, this is a game that they will remember forever. This is a game that will truly epitomize what the future entails in Ann Arbor, because we've known Michigan's been a good team. I mean, just look at the way that they recruit, the roster construction, the way they punch out first-round talent at multiple positions over the last 2 decades, since the last time they played for a national title. But they always fell short of the goal. They always felt like the team that was good enough to be mentioned, but never right alongside those other programs. Like when you bring up Alabama, you say, oh, they have a shot at winning the national title. Georgia, even with the downtrodden years at the very end of the Mark Richt era, you were saying to yourself, they're good enough to win a national title. And Ohio State got that praise, and Texas for a time got that praise, and Nebraska got it, and USC got it. And Michigan just is sitting there like, hey, we belong in the same blue blood. Shh, no, you don't. Sit back down at the kids' table because this is where you belong. Now it's a change. Now this is Michigan puffing out their chest and saying, you want to run through the Big Ten? Okay, Big Blue's going to stop you first. You better take down the dragon if you want a shot at making it to Indy, because we're not slowing down. Don't believe us? Look at the way that we played throughout the regular season. And it culminated in last night's victory. That, to me, is one of the biggest takeaways, is that you can't say anything negative about Michigan anymore when it comes to their on-field play. You can talk about the sign stealing scandal. It happened. It did. It's done. It's over with. I'm not going to hold Michigan sustainable to it anymore. I'm going to take about the facts that it is, but you can't talk about the schedule either. Oh, they played against a ragtag team in the Big Ten. You know, look at Penn State and how they performed without Chop Robinson and Kalen King and a few other players against a team like Ole Miss. Look at what Ohio State did when they lost their quarterback and they lost their starting wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Missouri hung 14 in the 4th quarter against them. That's supposed to be a good team? Doesn't matter because you handled your business. Doesn't matter because of what you did on the Rose Bowl field for the final time in 2023, or really the start of 2024. That was like opening the next page to a chapter, one filled with promise and potential that will reside in Ann Arbor so long as Jim Harbaugh is there. And there's a reason to believe, yeah, he's coming back for round 2. Yeah, he's coming back for another shot at winning the Natty. He wants to be a part of a 12-team playoff. Physicality. Physicality from the jump was what this game was all about. Every play you watched as Jesse Minter dialed up stunts and blitzes and delayed passes and coverages that made Alabama feel minuscule. Sluggish start to begin. And because of that, that allowed you to kind of gain an inertia to eventually advance. And you did. You can't ask much more for J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy was like the most precise surgeon inside of a medical suite performing life-threatening surgery. That's what he was yesterday, because if he was throwing balls, threading the needle, 77.3% completion rating, not to mention 3 touchdowns, physical at the point of attack, the ability to utilize his legs to evade pressure coming off the edge, whether that be from Deontay Lawson up the middle or Dallas Turner or a delayed blitz from Malachi Moore, it didn't matter. J.J. McCarthy stood tall in the pocket, surveyed the field, and quickly made a decision that was a positive. The physicalness of the rushing attack. I don't need to talk more about Blake Corum than I already have. The kid is going to be a folklore at Michigan Stadium for years on end. When he enters the big house, there will be an emphatic eruption because of his performance over the last 2 years. But when the lights were at the brightest, he came in to call. Big 4th down conversion. You gain 25. That sets you up for the game-tying drive. Roman Wilson finds way to the end zone, and then the overtime. two carries, physicalness, unrelentless willingness to go down, the ability to understand, I have a shot at making history. I'm going to take my advantage. Does it. Waltz his way into the end zone. And how fitting for it, being a kid that was undersized, underappreciated during the recruiting ranks, stand tall, and on the touchdown that made him a legend. History books, rewritten with Blake Corum's name. Number one reason you're going to the national championship. Physical brand of football, 4 quarters of action. This was like a heavyweight boxing match where you're not going to get every big blow, but I'll tell you this much, they don't strike, you're going to deliver quick little jabs, you're going to tire out their arms, and then when it comes down to the final swing, you're ready to go ahead and get the knockout punch. That's what we saw in Pasadena. 2 drastically different games compared to what happened a few hours later down in New Orleans. But I digress. Michigan handled itself. Michigan proved to the world, hey, it's a new era underneath Jim Harbaugh. And it's been this way, and it's been a culmination. And this is what you're excited to see if you're a Wolverines fan. The buy-in from the team with all the outside noise, it didn't matter. And there was going to be speculation going into this game. Listen to Nick Saban. Listen to players talking about the sign-stealing scandal and how prepared they were, just in case any type of those shenanigans occurred, how they were studying film. There was outside noise. You lost Jim Harbaugh at the start of the year for 3 games. Then midseason comes around. Connor Stallion, who is he? A ghost of Wolverine's past? Gets fired for the sign-stealing scandal. And Sharon Moore has to come in during the most rigorous part of your schedule, and the locker room buy-in handled it. Good teams, the ones that really stand out in the month of November and December and prove that they can win a national title, are the ones that utilize coaches as babysitters to get them to and from class, get them to and from the weight room, get them to and from the practice field. Because they carry a standard inside their hearts, inside their persona, inside the way they run things. And they kind of take over games, and they take over locker rooms, and they take over the huddle, and they really set the tone that a lot of coaches will learn to follow. Great teams have good locker room cultures. And this is where it always gets frustrating when it comes to Dabo Swinney talk. And I don't want him to turn this into a Dabo content, but just give a buck. Dabo's so afraid to go into the transfer portal because of what is the culture set internally with this locker room. And he feels like an outside name could dismantle the culture. Well, when you played a program like Michigan or Alabama or Georgia or any one of these teams where you saw no opt-outs and you saw buy-in and belief, they set the standard that the newcomers have to meet. They set the tone that if the newcomers don't follow, they won't see the field. They won't take a snap. They won't get to celebrate and bask in the glory of what was an epic season. That's what Michigan does well. And that's why Michigan was able to handle business against Penn State. Even though it was a scare against Maryland, they walked away with the dub, and they didn't care about Ohio State's persona. They were going to outwork them. Just like they outworked Alabama. We can talk about Michigan. We can say that, yes, they had some flaws in the game and that they were far from perfect. And that's the crazy part. The version of Michigan that took the field against Alabama did not put together a winning performance. But honestly, Michigan still has a second gear that I'm afraid to see unfold. They have another element to their success to where if they start dialing it up and they get the momentum, they look like a team that's almost impossible to beat. It's like seeing an immovable object meet an unstoppable force. Somewhere in the middle, it has to give way. And if Michigan can dial it up and not make those mistakes where the 2 missed field goals happen and the muff punts happen and you find yourself in a situation where you're giving Alabama gifts to stay alive, this is a game where maybe Alabama isn't even in the final minute. Maybe they're playing catch up throughout the entire rest of the game. And now we're talking about Michigan just finding a way to secure a dub, continue their undefeated streak, and find their spot in Houston for the first time in over 2 decades. This is a good team. This is a very good team. They're fundamentally sound. They know how to win. They're great depth-wise. Every single player you feel comfortable could start at least 1 drive for you, offensively and defensively in your 2 sets. That's the way that I look at Michigan right now. And they have a week to game plan for a Washington team that has flaws. Very good, but has flaws. If you are Michigan, you feel very confident about the performance you put on the field. And for Jim Harbaugh, let's just keep a buck. If he does go to the NFL, the man in waiting should be Sharon Moore. And this team will rally around him, and they will be right back in this situation going into 2024 and beyond because of the buy-in from the locker room. But if he wants to stick around, he's in for a riding awakening in 2024. A lot of positivity coming to Ann Arbor. Excellent game plan. That was the version of Michigan that you want to see all season, where no doubt, no questions, Michigan versus everybody. Now it's everybody for Michigan is the way that I put it. Good win overall. Excellent performance from JJ McCarthy. And now they're 60 minutes away from internally welcoming themselves into immortality with college football. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.